As salespeople, it's natural that we want to talk. Invariably, we're in the roles that we are because we're good at engaging and building connections with people. But we have to be able to learn to shut our mouths on occasions and be able to feel comfortable with silence in order to get results. Many people are worried about pausing or the silence itself, but actually the best salespeople know how important and how powerful silence is when it comes to having conversations with their prospects. Here's a couple of tips that I think you can use in order to help you talk less. So what are some of the things we can do to control the urge that we have to speak? Well, we've got to be able to speak in the first place to be able to ask questions and engage with our prospect. But one of the ideas that I always say to people that you can use is try and focus on a one-sentence form of conversation. If you were to say a sentence, you can generally speak some words until it gets to the end of a natural point or stop. And then you can't go further forward without having to take a breath and breathe again, which generally involves meaning a second sentence. So in order to control that urge to stop, focus on one sentence and then being able to stop so that you can then let them respond. If you do that, it's going to help you shorten the amount of time you speak and focus in on the right words to say in the right manner in order to be able to get a response that you want from the prospect you're engaging with. One sentence, if you go past that, put inside that mind of yours that you've probably said too much at that point, learn to stop and let someone else reply, and it's going to help you immensely. Another great way to control the urge to speak is to focus on asking open-ended questions. When we ask closed questions that result in a yes or a no, it's natural that we've then got to fill that space with other questions in order to have a conversation. But if we ask open questions around feelings and emotions and encourage the prospect to share how they feel, it's natural that then they're going to do most of the talking and we're going to do most of the listening. Asking questions around how will this make you feel, or what are the implications of not doing this, or tell me how that has been achieved in the past, or what could you do differently that would solve that problem, are words and sentences that you can use that encourage the prospect to then elaborate on things rather than you being able to ask questions that will give 1 or 2 word answers that then pushes the onus back on you to ask more questions and talk more. Ask questions in the right way that are open-ended, and it's going to help get the more information from the prospect, which if you're listening to intently, you can then note down and use in subsequent discussions and follow-up conversations. The final urge to speak comes when we've got something that we're so passionate to get across that we look to interrupt the prospect or the people that we're speaking with. I know this happens, it happens. It's one of my worst failings and faults as a salesperson. And I've had to be able to train my brain, and still do, to control the urge to shut up and not interrupt the prospect. The key thing to happen here is to let the prospect speak and talk so that the stage where it reaches a natural pause or a natural ending. And even if you've got a response you wanted to give or something that you wanted to say, maybe note that down and wait until the prospect has paused or finished what they've had to say, and then respond back if you feel it's so important you do that. But what is essential not to do is to interrupt them when they're mid-thought or mid-sentence, which will then stop their train of thought. It puts you in the onus of talking, which then makes the prospect think that you're not really interested in listening to them, but only interested in talking yourself. Really focus on being able to curb that need to speak and be able to understand that if the prospect's talking, let them flow, let them engage, and of course, be in a position where you can ask the right, great questions that can get more information from the prospect. The right questions such as budget and timing and need are all key, but let the prospect talk through where they're feeling and what they're doing. Don't interrupt them, and focus on speaking less than speaking more. These 3 tips, along with the ability to us to control our minds and really be disciplined about not talking, will be a big factor in helping you get the results you want. So use these ideas and really try and remind yourself and control that urge to stop talking at certain points and feel comfortable in the silence that you have with a prospect. And if you do that, as well as using the words in the right way, it's going to mean you're going to get better conversations to get better results. And if you get better results, we all know what that means. It means targets being hit. So in order to help us control our mindsets when it comes to sales, we've got to be able to think positively and let our minds control more of what we actually do on a day-to-day basis. In order to do that, we need to be able to train our minds. And I've been working with one of the world's leading hypnotherapists, Mark Bowden, who's helped thousands of people all over the world solve issues that they have through the power of suggestions and thoughts that go into their subconscious mind. And we've put together a series of sales-related materials that you can use to be able to train your mind to get better sales results. Click at the link at the bottom of this video and you can see what Mark's materials offer you and how you can ensure that if you train your mind to think differently and to handle some of the different situations that come up in sales, I can assure you you're going to be prepared and it's going to enable you to get better results.